Hey guys, welcome along once again to Act Like a DJ with me, LPR. For this week's show, I had a sit down with DJ Michaelis, who's a resident of a few clubs here in Bali. I'm trying to go with a new concept for the show. It's not going to be happening every week, but it's called the Residence Series. And basically what that is having people on who are DJs and producers based in Bali who've got a bit of a story to tell. Michaelis, as you're going to hear over the next hour or so, has got an absolutely outstanding story to tell. When you hear it, you'll understand exactly what I mean. He goes really deep, he goes really dark. Of course, it's centered around music, but that is by no means what this podcast in particular is about. Michaelis is from LA. He's a fantastic open format style DJ, and he's also producing some stuff of his own as well. I'll give you the link to his SoundCloud a little later on at the end of the podcast, so you can go and catch some of his work. In the meantime, I want you to sit back, put your headphones on, relax, and have a listen to DJ Michaelis on his musical journey and his journey of life. You don't want to miss this one. Disclaimer, before we begin, I must apologise for this week's podcast audio quality. We didn't have any professional mics set up at the time. It was kind of an impromptu thing. This was just spur of the moment, so we got it done. Have a listen, see what you think, and I'm sure it won't impact your opinion of the podcast. Thank you.
Hi, this is Michaelis, and you're listening to Act Like a DJ with LPR.
Hey, we are Denzel Park, and you're listening to Act Like a DJ with LPR.
Hey guys, this is Stonebridge, and you're listening to Act Like a DJ with my boy LPR.
Hey folks, so I'm here with Michaelis, straight from LA, well, a few years ago. We're going to sit down for the next hour or two and just talk about all things that's going on with him. This is a new kind of series to the podcast called the Residence Series, where people who are doing good things in Bali deserve to be heard.
Good things.
Yeah, you're the first one. You're the crash test dummy.
Uh-oh.
So if this is a train wreck, I do apologise. It's all Michaelis' fault. So tweet him now, DJ Michaelis, and let him know that you hate what you're listening to.
Am I allowed to swear or what?
You can do whatever.
Oh,
the fuck
good. I
you
like
want.
that. That's really good.
So you are originally from LA, is that correct?
I surely am. Born and raised in Los Angeles.
Beautiful. So why Bali? Why did you choose Bali, and when did that happen for you?
Well, what happened was about 8 years ago, I saw a picture of an outdoor shower, and I just said, I want to be there. And so when I got hooked up with this label called Hooky Sonic that started distributing my tracks, I said as soon as I got signed by a label, I could produce music from anywhere, doesn't matter. So I said, I'm moving to Bali. And plus, I got tired of LA, to be honest with you. It's just kind of like this rat race living where you just keep meeting these new financial goals that you're setting for yourself, but you're not feeling it.
Really?
Yeah, it's really bizarre. It's really a weird place. And I've always wanted to live on an island. That's always my thing. So here I am.
Well, there you go. So what's it like growing up in LA? Is it different to, I guess, you wouldn't really know what it's like living in England, but it's kind of, no, but what I mean by that is there's nothing too crazy about it. Is it totally different in LA? Is there always something going on, even as a young kid? Did you get into any trouble?
It's weird. Like, I feel like people that I've talked to that grew up in other places lived less sheltered lives, you know? Like, my dad was super protective, so, like, I couldn't ride around the block. I had to ride, like, in a little circle in front of the house, dude.
You put cones out in front of
Yeah, seriously, it might as well have been. So, you know, I didn't grow up in the most amazing neighborhood. It was, like, Reseda, and it was kind of like the early 80s, late 70s, and sort of the gang stuff was kind of popping off there. And so, you know, there was just like a lot of overprotectiveness. I went to schools that had nothing to do with the area that I lived in because the private schools where I lived were not good. So I went to these, the public schools where I lived weren't good. So I went to these private schools that were like 45 minutes away. And so like having friends that would come over just didn't happen.
Yeah.
Because no one wanted to drive to Reseda. So that part was weird. But I'll tell you this, like.
And you couldn't go to them because you were stuck in your little cone area.
Totally. I couldn't leave the cones, man. The cones were there, bro. That was it. But yeah, it was. It's interesting. All the glamour aspect of Los Angeles really is like I can't see it. So like I have all these friends, you know, that I'm meeting now that like want to go to LA, want to go to Hollywood, and it's like I've lived there. it looks like a small town to me. You know what I mean? It just has this sort of air about it that's, you know, the whole celebrity, blah, blah, blah. I don't know.
I guess if you know, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the clubs close at 2. You know what I mean? Like, your night ends at 2. The headliner goes on at 12. You have a warm-up set that starts at 10. So by the time everyone's drunk and is having fun, like, they're all ready to go home and get DUIs. You know? So it's kind of funny.
Have you ever had a DUI?
No, thank God.
Good,
No.
me neither.
Doesn't mean I haven't been to jail, but I haven't had a DUI.
Oh, all right. Well, let's go into that then. Well, how old were you when you got picked up first time?
My first time was I was 19 years old. I went to Northern Arizona University, which I failed out of. I never went to any classes. I basically majored in hacky sacking and selling drugs. And at the end of the year, my best friend's girlfriend got, well, what we thought was like raped at this party that I was at that she wasn't at. I know we're going deep right now. And so he calls me the next morning. I had no idea what happened. He was like crying. He's like, we got to get this guy. So I'm like, okay, let's go do it. And so he took me out to this like field in Flagstaff, Arizona. No one's around. He was like a Native American dude. And he's like, okay, I've got this like Native American pipe stuff that we're going to smoke. I'm like, cool. And then he like gave me these ninja fighting sticks. He's like, I'm going to teach you how to use these. I'm like, cool, let's do it. And so I'm like doing all this ninja fighting shit out in the middle of a field by myself, and which was really awkward with this dude here. And he's like nunchucking it. And then
Is this to warm up to go and get the guy?
this is a warm-up, right? So then we like have this whole elaborate plan. We're gonna like dress in all black and we're gonna like stake out his house and blah blah blah. So we did that. We dressed in all black and we fucking sat in his car and like waited, and you know, we were high on speed and Ritalin and shit, which doesn't do well for like patience. You know what I mean? Like sitting in a little car. So finally, like, you know, our 4-day experience that we were supposed to have lasted maybe 30 minutes, and we just went and knocked on this dude's door, and he wasn't home, and we made up this whole story about how we met him the night before. We were gonna sell mushrooms, and my buddy had like a bag of shiitake mushrooms or something that he like showed the guy who lived there, saying, yeah, we got these mushrooms, they're amazing, blah blah blah. So the guy's like, oh yeah, the dude will be back in an hour. So we're like, cool. So we went back in an hour, and the dude was there, and we basically just, you know, beat him up and put him in the hospital. And how we got caught was his...
Still had the nunchuckers on you?
Dude, no, we gave all that shit up. We were just like in our black costumes. It was really weird. But his girlfriend was on the phone with him while it was all happening, and she started to panic because we started talking about, he was already unconscious at this point, and we're like, yeah, okay, we're burying him out in the desert. We started dragging his body like out, you know, and she called the police, and we just took off. I'm like, bro, we can't bury him in the desert. And so yeah, the detectives were after us, and it was really funny, man. The detectives told us that if we came in and we admitted everything, that he's never seen anyone go to jail ever for this kind of thing. We would just have to pay restitutions for his hospital bills and blah blah blah. And we're like, okay. We went and we confessed.
You're 19 at the time.
I'm
right?
19. I don't know anything, right? And I'd been fighting all through high school, so like, and I never had any consequences. So to me, this was just like life, you know. So to like be in this much trouble. So anyway, all his promises were kind of bullshit, and I wound up getting arrested for residential burglary and aggravated assault, and yeah, luckily I only had to spend a month in jail, but it was like my first month in jail, and it was weird.
What jail was that?
Honestly, it was a Coconino County jail originally, and then we got transferred to this other jail that was like an old prison that they were like converting into a jail. Basically, the reason why they gave us such a harsh punishment is that at the time they were trying to pass these bills to build new jails, and in order to justify that, they had to like have overpopulation. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's pretty much what's going on now as well, isn't it?
It's pretty crazy.
Private prisons and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was a mess, man.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny.
So you did say that was the first time. Has there kind of been more than one, or because I mean that's pretty hard going if someone's girlfriend's listening on the phone to you saying that you're gonna bury them in the desert.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, it's not what any girlfriend really wants to hear, I don't think, but Yeah, so
you probably got over it.
Yeah, I think so. I'm sure they're probably not together. I don't know. They could be married. I never found the guy. I tried to make amends, but I have no idea who he is. But yeah, so after I got out of jail, I moved to Venice Beach, California. And I mean, by then I was already like a full-on drug addict. Moving to Venice Beach, California is not like conducive to sobriety if you're not trying to be sober.
How old were you at this point? Still 19, 20?
Yeah, I was still 19. And, or maybe I was just 20. No, I was 19.
How long had you been on drugs for at that point?
I mean, I started doing drugs probably when I was 13 or 14. I started drinking when I was really young. So,
I mean, where would you do it? Just go out with your friends and...
The drug part or the 8 or 9 year old stuff? I mean, there weren't a lot of keg parties happening in 5th grade, you know?
Yeah.
So I was just drinking at home before my parents got home or whatever, because...
Just whatever was lying around, you just...
Yeah, they had a
that.
full stock liquor cabinet. That was amazing. And it started slow. It was like, you know, I'd eat the brandy cherries out of the brandy jar, and then that was enough, so I would just drink the brandy out of the brandy cherry jar.
And how old were you when you were doing this?
Oh, man, I was probably in like 5th and 6th grade. I was like a really insecure kid, to be honest with you. And I really was like paranoid that everybody was talking shit about me, and like I was like thinking that these 9-year-olds were calling each other at like 6:30 in the morning to plan how they were gonna make fun of me that day at 7:30 a.m. when I got to school. Like that's the kind of like self-centered paranoia fear that I was living in, and like alcohol was the only thing that I had that would just sort of make me not give a shit and like not care about what happened that day.
So you'd go to school like loaded?
No, I would come home and get loaded instead of crying to my mom.
Oh, okay.
Basically, it was pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, I started, my parents smoked weed, and so I remember like my first time smoking weed was like in their guest room with them not home or whatever. But I really started enjoying it probably when I was 14 years old, with this dude, Thad Mick. We like started a band. I was like in a punk band. I played guitar and stuff. And yeah, I mean, we just started smoking weed and selling weed and doing that in high school. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, sounds it.
Yeah, it was great. I had a good time.
So then you moved to Venice Beach, did you say?
Yeah, I moved to Venice Beach. I was with this girl at the time, and I mean, I was just a total mess, not really able to show for any kind of relationship. And at one point, she like broke her leg, and I was super selfish. And was like, "You got to go."
You didn't try and bury her in the desert?
No, I didn't bury her in the desert or in the beach, for that matter. But I did say, "You got to get out of here." So she went back to Hawaii to recover with her family, which was an asshole move. But I like went across the street one day and met these dudes who were like deep in the rave scene, like, you know, EDC before it was EDC, and Nocturnal Wonderland before it was Nocturnal Wonderland, and Burning Man before it was Burning Man. Like these guys were way into it, and they were also into like the house club music scene, you know. And
They around the same age as you?
Some of them were older. Yeah, actually 2 of them are dead. One of them died in a car accident, and one hung himself like a year ago. But yeah, I mean, they basically introduced me to electronic music. This girl who I lived in Venice introduced me to drum and bass, and that's how I even liked electronic music. I was into like death metal and punk and all that shit like that before. You know.
In a band?
Yeah.
What
yeah,
did you play?
I played guitar.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Do you still play it now, or?
I still play guitar. Yeah, barely. Like my girlfriend wants me to play guitar, but I don't know. I get shy about that shit.
You might get on next week at Ginger playing the guitar, you never know.
Can you imagine? I know. Just introduce that shit in my sets. It's really bizarre.
So, how long have you been DJing then? Did you and did you work before that? Did you have any kind of just little jobs here and there?
I mean, does selling drugs count? I don't know if it does.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
so I did that.
Yeah.
So I think I first started DJing in '97, and basically, like, it was me and this crew of people who used to go to like the same clubs. There was this one club on Sunday night that I was introduced to called Logic, and it was at the West End in Santa Monica. Of course, I was underage, and I wound up getting arrested out of that club later on, which was getting me banned from it. But you know, it was like Mark Lewis, Doc Martin, you know, Marcus Wyatt, Grant Plant from the UK, who was actually like my favorite DJ of all time. Like I got to expose to all those people, Steve Loria, King Britt, like all those guys. And I was just going to the club to dance, but every night afterwards we would like go to this dude's house in downtown LA, and he had turntables there, and God bless him, he had turntables for years, but he couldn't mix for shit. He was just one of those dudes that train wrecked every song. He was like so cute, because it was like he'd like be bouncing in his headphones, but like totally offbeat.
All the gear, no idea.
Yeah, it was horrible. And I was like one day like, yo, can you show me this? What's this about? And he's like, yeah, sure. So, I started playing at his house afterwards, and beat matching was pretty natural for me. And then I was homeless for a while, and I lived in my friend's garage, and he had turntables and a bunch of records and stuff. And I basically spent 8 months of my life just playing in this dude's garage, smoking meth off of light bulbs and taking Vicodin and a little bit of GHB. And that was my life.
Well, you see, I know we kind of jumped from early life to moving to Venice Beach, and then how you got into DJing. But even when we kind of crossed over into talking about DJing a little bit, you still brought to my attention a few other little light bulbs have just went on, literally.
Yeah.
So let's just go back a little bit here. So you're underage, getting thrown out of clubs, getting banned from clubs, even though technically, I mean, we all went to clubs when we were too young. Maybe not all of us got caught and banned and stuff like that. But you mentioned you being homeless as well.
Oh yeah.
And you were also doing, amongst other things, meth in people's garages. So let's talk a little bit more about that. What happened with it? First of all, I mean, homeless. What happened there?
Oh man, I mean, like I said, I just didn't have a job, and I mean, like all these old Burning Man people and rave people, we kind of all just shacked up in each other's houses. And I mean, I had this apartment in Venice that I lived in after this girl left, and I wasn't really paying bills. I wasn't responsible, so I just ended up not having a home. And I wasn't even living there when I didn't have a home. Like, I let a bunch of tweakers live in my place for a while. They wound up selling like all my guitars and all my everything while I was gone already. I mean, it was just a mess, but I mean, I was so high all the time, I just didn't care. So
was that your whole life? You were just high all the time at that point?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I looked forward to it.
And what was you doing in those years then?
I was doing a lot of ecstasy back when it was probably really good. Like the All Stars, Converse, all kinds of the Nikes. And then, that girl that I met who I lived with in Venice, when we were in Arizona still, she took me to a Cypress Hill 311 concert. It was the first time I ever did like speed. And that was kind of the thing that I loved. So when I met these guys, they introduced me to like smoking meth, and that was a whole other train that I took. It was pretty interesting. So that's how that happened.
Yeah, that's it. As you put it, it's pretty interesting. So I think we did mention before, I think the Venice Beach story was going into how you got arrested a second time.
Yeah, so I was selling drugs with a buddy of mine who also lived in Venice, and we had a great night. Like, we had this E that was selling. We went to a rave the night before. It was a Saturday night, and we like sold out, and we were really cocky. And the next day we went to Logic again, and basically this guy was walking across the street after we went across the street, this parking lot across from the club, to count the money and just sort of talk about how amazing people we were. And we were walking back across the street to this club, and this dude walks up to us. He's like, "Hey man, you got me fast," and we were just like, "What are you talking about?"
For people in England, what's that mean?
I guess it means cocaine. I had no idea what it meant either, to be honest with you. He was like all slurry and sketchy.
What I meant by that was I didn't know, so I was
asking. Really? Yeah, totally. So we're like, my buddy's like, "No, but we have E," and I was just like, "Oh man, why are you doing that?" And he's like, "Don't trip." He's like, "You get the money. I'm gonna give you the pill. Just ask him if he's a police officer. If he is, he has to say that he is." So I'm like, okay.
Foolproof.
Yeah, right? It's total fucking logic. So basically we go back into the club, and I take him to the back of the club where I know there's no cameras or anything like that. And the first thing I did was like I asked him if he was a police officer, and he looked, he had this like look, this star look on his face. He's like, "No, bro, no," like, all fucking weird. And I'm like, okay. So I had that one pill to give him. He gave me money, and then I went up into the VIP area and was sitting with some friends of mine. And about 5 minutes later, these two undercovers like came up and they said, "We're arresting you." And I was like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah." So they pulled me out to the back of the club, and I tried to run, and they got me one of those like wrist bar things, which it really hurt. And then they pulled out my ID and found out I was like 19 years old, and so the club got fined, and I felt really bad. I was friends with like the owner's kid and all the bouncers, and I'd been lying for so long, and it was a bad look. So I had to spend another month in jail. That was the first time I went to LA County, which is way different than Arizona because it's super like, politically gang-ish. You've got like the Southsiders, the Paisas, which are like the Mexican factions. You've got the blacks, African Americans, whatever you want to call it. We're PC today, I guess. And then you have the white dudes and the Asians, and like it's all very separate, and it's just gnarly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How was that then? Just kind of because you'd only done it a month in your life before, hadn't you?
You know what? It really smelled. Actually, yeah. LA County Jail is probably the smelliest place on earth. I don't know. It's got this like unique stench.
I'm assuming you know tons of smelly places then, because you seem to have been there and done it all. So I'm going to take your word for it.
Yeah, it was really bad. I mean, I was in the main line on that time, so I was still like not in the gang module, which is where I was in the last time I was arrested. But it was bad.
There's more than 2 times.
Yeah,
everyone listening, we're gonna get there.
But it gets better though. I stopped all that shit. I swear, it's cool.
So, I mean, have you got any LA County stories, or was it kind of low key when you did you try and keep your head down and get out as quick as you can?
I was pretty low key. It was interesting. Like these dudes, the third time that I was in jail and I was in the gang module, like, and people were there for really long times. Like it was cool, man. Like these dudes made brooms out of newspapers, or they made card tables out of T-shirts, or I mean, it was just like so like ingenious. All the little things that we do to survive. I mean, it was awesome. It was definitely an interesting experience. But like by that time, I had already like my mindset was, I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life. Like I'm gonna be a career convicted felon, and that's my deal. Mm-hmm. So it was weird that I had like that shift. But the second time I got out of jail, this is the one I'm talking about. My first time in LA County, and I was homeless after that too. But I was like, I moved to some like raw foodist commune, 4-story like mansion style thing in Laurel Canyon, across from where those Wonderland murders was. And that was interesting too. I was there with like 2 German models, a Greek model, some fucking raw foodist chef who walked around in like a string Speedo all day.
How did you end up there? I mean, what kind of universe plots this shit and ends up putting the guy who's just been got out of jail for the second time?
Because one of my friends was the Greek model girl who lived there, and it was funny that like they took pity on me because I was definitely not a raw foodist. So they would like sneak me down to Whole Foods, get like a roast beef sandwich like every once in a while, man, just to like, it was an interesting experience. But it was fun, man.
But you're still doing a shitload of drugs at this point.
Yeah, it was a total mess. But I had to hide the speed. Like, all of them were, like, fucking smoking weed and doing pills and shit like that, and, like, peeing and drinking their own urine because they thought because they weren't eating meat or anything cooked that it was really clean. But they did have judgment on anyone that did meth.
Yeah, so you're not allowed to drink your own pee, but well, you are allowed to, but you're not allowed to
smoke meth.
To smoke meth.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah, it was cool. So that didn't last long though. I mean, I got kicked out of that place too. And,
why?
I was just a mess. Like, I mean, I wanted to smoke meth. I wanted to be a dirty fucker.
Did you get your hands on any while you were inside, when you were in prison, or did you just kind of go sober for 30 days, however long it was?
The last time I was in jail, I did, because I was in the gang module in jail, and so, like, I know this is going to sound stupid, but it's where, like, all the big homies are, so the people who are in mainline have to, like, pay homage to the homies by, like, basically giving drugs, money, cigarettes, like, paying them out, You know what I mean? So I happened to be up there, so
pretty easy to get your hands on stuff then.
Yeah, totally. And then there was always like Pruno or Hooch, which is basically like jail-made alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Did it affect you if you had to go 30 days without for like the first and second time you were in? Would it really have an effect on your personality, or did you just kind of do it, and then as soon as you got out, you'd start again.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't think it had much effect on my personality, you know.
You probably got the most sleep you've ever had while you were in jail then, I guess.
Totally. The last time I
Off the
was
speed.
arrested, I literally slept for 3 days. Like, that was my experience of detox. But I was like smoking about a quarter ounce of meth a day, and I had been up for a few weeks, so I needed some good rest.
Yeah, I bet you did. Sounds like. So what did you weigh when you were 19, 20? Then you must have been.
I was like 155,
Wow.
160.
And you're a big guy as well. How tall are you?
I'm like 6 feet, I think.
So we talked a little bit about the first and the second time, and then kind of what had happened in between. But again, like before, you did mention a little bit, like as in you'd been arrested again. Has there been a third, a fourth, a fifth? How many times
Just
has
a
it been?
third.
A third. Okay.
That was the last time, and I got arrested for manufacturing methamphetamine. I was hanging out with some.
Oh, so you were Breaking Bad then? You were
Yeah, I was Breaking Bad, which is funny. Like, some of those characters in that show, I could relate. Like, we had the dude who was the old crusty white dude with the, goatee, who was living in the Winnebago off of PCH in Malibu, who was cooking the meth. You know what I mean? Like those people actually exist. You know, I'm trying to still figure out what character I was. I really don't want to be. What's that dude's name? Little bitch. Like, what's that guy's name? I forget. Anyway, I don't want to be that guy, but because he seems like such a pussy. But yeah, I mean, it was an interesting experience. So I got arrested for attempting to manufacture methamphetamine, and
What, they did a raid on where you were living or something?
yeah, like this girl who was kind of like a side chick for the big manufacturing dude. Basically, cut a deal with the police in Beverly Hills and told them about this house that was manufacturing. In fact, it wasn't being manufactured there, but I went out to go pick up some money that some dude owed me, and they were waiting for us. So I mean, we pulled out in front of this house, and there was 2 cops, and then all of a sudden there was 15 squad cars and the whole thing.
Big deal.
Yeah, it was a really big deal. It was in the papers even.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was really cool.
Did you have a beard on your mugshot like you've got now, no?
I looked like a little bitch. It was really funny. Yeah, it was funny. At least I wasn't wearing a shiny shirt. The first time I was wearing a shiny shirt. And
Beautiful.
the second time when I got pulled out of the club, I was wearing this shiny blue shirt. I was like such a fucking weirdo in jail. It was really
What
funny.
happened to the guy, the second time? What happened to the guy who you were counting your money with? Did he get off with it?
Oh.
Because you were the one who handed over the...
Yeah, he got off. And I, never ratted on anybody. That was not personal. Which is probably why I'm still alive today.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll go with that.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good reason.
Yeah, it was good.
So that was how long did you get for the third time?
Well, they were trying to put me in prison for the rest of my life, basically.
Really?
And yeah.
And you're how old at this point?
I was 22. Yeah, it was really nuts.
I was in I'd just finished university. I just started teaching when I was 22, and
We're walking the same path, bro.
Oh, mate, you've been about to go to prison for the third time, which technically could have been you done.
Yeah.
There would be no DJ Michaelis.
There would have been no DJ.
There'd have been no Bali rain outdoor shower.
I know,
whatever
right?
it's called.
Yeah, it was
So
nuts.
So they tried to put you away for life.
Yeah.
So then
Or at least 25 years or something like that.
So how does it go from life to you sitting here with me today? Well, I mean, I don't mean how did you get here. I mean, how did you get off with life?
It was basically a miracle of God, dude. Like this guy Bob, who was sort of a liaison between jails and treatment centers and stuff like that. He happened to work in my lawyer's office. My lawyer couldn't do much. There was no bail or anything like that. All that stuff was thrown away. They're like, "You're done, dude."
How many of you at this point? Just you or a group of you?
Oh, getting arrested? The whole thing everyone got arrested.
And they wanted life for everyone or only you?
No, I mean, it seemed, the guy I got arrested with, he basically said that me and this other dude were the mastermind of this whole thing. And to be really honest with you, I personally never cooked meth. I was not a mastermind. I was the dude that was chill enough and trustworthy enough that the guy who was the mastermind wandered around the house because I wasn't a fucking problem, and I just got to smoke free meth all day.
So it's win-win?
Yeah, totally. So I mean, that was a dream job for me, basically. So anyway, this guy said this whole thing, and yeah, so the mastermind got out because he was really wealthy. He was affiliated with some Chinese triad mafia stuff, and then the other guy got out. I don't know how he got out, and then a girl and another guy got out. I mean, before I did. So I might have had it done the longest time in there out of everybody. I'm not sure, which was only 6 months, which was cool.
So hang on. So you said there's somebody who worked in the same office. How did they go from getting you down from?
He had a relationship with the judge, and
what was his relationship to you? He was just a friend of the lawyer.
He just worked in the office,
yeah.
And he dedicated his life to saving drug addicts, basically.
Oh, so was there a condition based on 6 months you had to go and do something like?
Yeah, totally. So I had to first be moved into treatment in jail. So I had this program called Impact in Jail, which was like a treatment center in jail, 12-step based. And so I had to do that, and then I needed to be court committed to a year in a sober living, and then I needed to have probation for 5 years, formal probation, where I had to like randomly pee test every week and not get in any trouble whatsoever, and blah blah blah. Otherwise, I would go back to prison. So there was a lot of pressure.
but how was it for you? Did you just kind of take it in your stride and know that this is it? You've got to do it, otherwise you're going to go back for a long time? Or
what's really funny is when my family came and visited me. Well, I was cool with going to the treatment part of jail because I was in the gang module, and the gang module sucked. And when I went to treatment in jail, like it was the first time in a few months that I'd seen like ice water. You know what I mean? Or I got to even be outside or like in a dorm. Like,
what was so bad for you about being in the gang module?
It's a 6-man cell. You never leave it. They feed you your food through a slot. You shower, I think, twice a week it was. But like the showering experience is always uncomfortable because the showers are down the hall. They let out 2 cells at a time. So there's like 12 guys and 3 little spouts of water coming out of a wall. And, the night before you're like hearing people sharpening shanks like for the shower time. So it's just nerve-wracking, So you're spending a lot of time bird bathing in your cell, which basically means like, putting water over your body, over a toilet, you know what I mean? So It just wasn't super comfortable. I became an expert on spread though, which was cool.
What's that?
It's a delicacy where you take like ramen noodles and every different kind of spicy chip experience you could think of, and you put the ramen noodles in a bag and you put like hot sink water in it and all the chips, and if you're really lucky it was chicken night for dinner, so you add some chicken, you add some jalapenos, and you crush it up and you shake it up and then you eat it.
Let's get in the kitchen now.
We did it. Yeah, I was like, babe, you gotta learn about spread. So we did it. So she's OG now. It's cool.
Yeah, there you go. I need to get introduced to this. You're gonna have to make it for me.
It's it's actually really tasty in some weird fucked up way.
Yeah.
But I was keen to get out of there, and already I had this epiphany while I was in the gang module that, oh shit, I think maybe drugs and alcohol might be a problem for me.
This the first time?
First time. I'd never thought it at all before. And so I made a little commitment myself, like, okay, I'm never going to do drugs again, right, in this jail cell. And about 2 days later, this guy got a tina of meth sprayed on a letter sent to him, and all the guys in my cell, like, ate this letter. And they offered me this letter to eat a piece of it to get high, right? And I said no, which was like the first time I was like, I'm not going to do this. I made a commitment to myself. And I watched these guys like tweak out, like stay up for like 4 fucking days, and they took toothbrushes and toothpaste, and they like scrubbed all the pencil gang writing off the walls, and they were like yelling at their hyenas in the phone, like, just all this crazy stuff. And I was like, wow, I don't want to live this life anymore. And then magically this dude Bob came and he visited me in jail, and he was like, do you think that you have a problem? And I was like, yeah. He's like, I think you're right for this. And so he moved me to treatment in jail. And I was introduced to the 12 steps, and I was surrounded by a bunch of people who, admitted that they were alcoholics and addicts, and they started talking about feelings and stuff that I could really relate to that had nothing to do with drugs and alcohol, just feeling like out of place in life, or they didn't fit in, or uncomfortable in their own skin, or all this like negative self-talk. And I was just like, wow, this is me, And I'd been like sent to psychiatrists as a kid, diagnosed with ADHD and depression and all this other stuff. And I always knew that wasn't the issue, So I was like given pills and but it never really fixed anything, so I could like really relate to these dudes, and I was like, oh shit, maybe I'm just like an alcoholic or an addict. Maybe that's my problem, And so I started to apply this 12-step solution in my life, and stuff got better, And I went from there into this sober living that was like super structured, and it was amazing. It changed my life. It was called Liberty House, and it basically just furthered me on in that whole path, and that's how I got to Bali, I guess. I mean, I was 22 years old when I got sober, so
You've done so much shit by the time you're 22 that it kind of all changed and then went in a different direction from there, right?
Yeah, totally.
Did you get into music pretty much straight after?
I thought I was going to work in recovery, basically helping people get sober, and I did do that. I managed a sober living for a while. I worked in some treatment centers, but as a birthday gift for my first year of sobriety, basically my uncle got me turntables because he knew that I loved them, and so I just played at home and practiced, and at that time it was like a deep house thing for me, but I was still sort of avoiding the whole club scene because I didn't know.
What year would this have been around?
This was in 99, 2000,
yeah,
I think. So, I basically was avoiding the club scene because I didn't want to run into my old friends. I didn't know how I'd fare, and I met a dude who was also sober who was a DJ, and he became friends with me, and he took me out, and I actually wound up running into my old friends, but it was a different experience where I saw them, and they were all kind of doing what they were always doing, and I just didn't really want that for my life. But I just kept practicing and playing, and then I got booked out at some parties, and I think my first one that I got booked out that was kind of big was the Exotic Erotic Ball, which sounds really fucking funny.
Yeah, it does. I've just nearly spat this water out.
It was really funny. My buddy Todd Bird booked me, but there was notable DJs. It was Mike Markle who was playing, and I think Marcus Wyatt played, and some other people, people that I went to go see at clubs were playing at this thing, and I got to play it too, and it was my first real paid job, and it was awesome.
So it's safe to say then, you didn't always want to be a DJ?
You know what? It was one of those things where you have dreams, but you don't really believe maybe that they're possible. And you have people in your life telling you that they're just pipe dreams, and you got to be responsible, and you have to live this stable life and get a 9 to 5 and blah, blah, blah. So there was so much of that loudness in my head that I wanted to do it, but I was just reluctant, and it wasn't until I'd been playing out a bunch, but it wasn't until probably 2006 that I was afforded the opportunity to say, you know what, I'm not going to do any of that stable shit, and I'm just going to DJ,
Just pursue it.
That's it. Totally.
Well, that's cool. That's pretty much what's got you here as well.
Yeah, totally.
So, was that, what was the opportunity then, the first one that made you think you can do this full time?
I met this lady, her name is Lori Rockin, and she...
Shout out
Lori Rockin. And she basically supported me, financially, because there was no way that I could match where she was at in her life. And she was very famous, and she's very connected, and she introduced me to a bunch of people, but she basically allowed me the time to just DJ. And at that time, DJ AM was just really popular in LA and kind of all over, and Serato had just come out, and really the whole face of DJing had changed over there, So it went from house music to hip hop to this new open format thing. And so, the rain's coming.
There we go. A little bit of Bali rain, yeah.
We got some Bali. It's good.
Did you see what I did there?
You like that? It's good stuff. You called it out, and now it's happening. I started learning how to become an open format DJ and playing all the different genres of music, and teaching myself how to scratch, and really opening my mind to other styles, because when I went into DJing, I was a fucking purist. It was house music, and it was vinyl, and that was it. And I was never going to change.
Exactly. Same.
So, in fact, I was never going to touch a CDJ, which I still haven't done. But, it was really hard for me to move to a computer with control vinyl even. Like that was a big shift for me. But when I saw how easy it was and how alike the two are, I was okay with it, you know.
When I first moved to Bali, I literally came on with a big, huge CD wallet, UDG CD wallet, like 250 CDs or whatever. And then because I knew I was coming here to DJ full time, I bought a tractor setup, I bought the full software, I bought an X1, and it was designed basically to kind of do a couple of tricks while I was playing. Totally. So you could do, at the time, I think it was called beat gridding, where you could kind of you could lock everything in, all the tempos for all of your tracks. It turned out to be the same type of thing that Sync would have been doing, but the point was you could have four turntables on the go at one time, 4 tracks on your screen and stuff like that.
Did you ever do that though?
Well, this is the thing. So I seen it live in Liverpool before I moved to Bali. I seen this really good DJ using Tractor, and he was doing this thing with Beat Grid, which I knew nothing about, and he had the X1, and it just looked like he was really creative. It looked like he could do 15 things at once versus just having 2 beat up CDJs, which may or may not work, and then, you know, all the problems that you get associated with that. So I bought this whole setup, and I brought it with me, and then I started working at Sky Garden, and I shit you not, I used it like 4 times.
That was it.
And it was all taking cables out the back while other people are playing, and then plugging it into the sound card, and then getting everything set up, and then, you know, maybe 1 time out of 10, because you're not really that used to using it anyway, things wouldn't work as they're supposed to, and things would start spinning backwards and this, that and the other. So basically I already could DJ on vinyl. I had done it for 8 or 9 years, and CDJs were obviously what everyone was using, so it was normal for me to do that. And I just got this brand new software, and I was DJing full time, and I thought, you know what, I've got no control over this. I don't get to pitch up or pitch down. I don't get to have any control like I did on the vinyl days. So I used it 3 times, 4 times tops, and then just sold it.
That's it, done.
Just went, and luckily for me, pretty much overnight was when the CDJ 2000 came out, so it was USB. So awesome. I could literally stop carrying a big laptop bag with all the kit in. I didn't have to have a CD wallet with 250 CDs in. I could just go and get a USB. So that was like a big blessing for me. As soon as I realised that the club had put CDJs in with USBs, it was time to get rid of Tractor. So sorry, Native Instruments, if you do happen to listen to this. I wasn't an advocate for your products.
Serato.
I am now, though. I am now.
Serato.
Yes, yeah, just getting that one in.
Like when Ableton came out, and all my Burning Friend mans were like, doing production and stuff like that. Like, I got Ableton right away, and I got an Ableton controller thinking I was gonna play all my sets like an Ableton, but that shit was boring, dude. Like, unless you're playing your own music that you produced and are chopping it up and remixing it, doing all kinds of cool stuff, like the whole idea of pressing play and lifting up a fader was just...
Well, what I used to, I hear you, because what I used to find is I've seen DJs using Ableton as a live setup, and I don't know, this might not be completely true, but I'm sure it was at the time. There was no plan B. If their set's not working by the 4th or 5th track in, there didn't seem to be a plan B. It was 20 tracks lined up, and you were queuing them from there. So I always felt that it wasn't cheating. Of course it wasn't cheating, but it wasn't anything that interested me at all. The same way that, for me, the way I play, looking at a computer screen, it just doesn't do it for me. I'm completely immersed in being able to just use CDJs, and I will teach you one day. We'll get to
yes.
We've already had a little go at
yes.
this. But I think it was about 15 minutes, wasn't it? But what we're going to do, we're going to trade secrets. He's going to show me how to scratch, and I'm going to show him how to press play on a CDJ.
I like that.
With no sync at all.
No sync. We don't do sync.
Yeah, we don't do
sync.
sync.
For pussies, dude.
Yeah, get rid of all that.
Yeah.
So now you went in from house to kind of crossed over into open formats. That seemed to me to be a really big thing in the US, more so than the UK. There really hasn't been, as far as I'm aware, a big demand for open format style DJs. But what I've noticed in Asia is, if you're good at that and you've got that craft down to an art, which I believe you have.
Oh, thanks.
You can clean up. You really can. I mean, there's not too many DJs on this island or in Southeast Asia that I know of that can play that style of music. I believe you're probably one of the only R&B DJs that I know that actually you don't really like R&B that much, do you?
Which is hilarious.
What happened
it's
there?
It's so funny. You know what?
You just kind of fell into it and stuck with it, but your heart's not in R&B.
Changed for me. Like, everyone asks me, what kind of music do you like, or why did you sell out, and blah blah blah. And
sell out.
It's really funny. Like, that's what they think when I made this crossover, and it's just like I had to look at DJing as like, it's not for me. You know what I mean? I'm like DJing for people, and to me it's like when people are happy and they're stoked and there's energy, that's when I'm happy. Like, the stuff I like today is really bassy. I'm really into all that like trap stuff, and even the hip hop I like is really that like harder trappy hip hop, that 70 BPM stuff, you know. But you know, house is cool and I like playing it, but like that long mixing house where I'm like, you know, doing effects and filters and delays and that kind of stuff like that. Like, truthfully, for me today, like, it's not exciting for me. Like, I don't know if I, you know, have like a nervous disposition or something, but like I need to be doing something.
It's the ADHD in you.
Is that
That's what it is. Yeah, you can only go 32 bars, and then it's got to be something else that's got to go on.
So totally, like, I need to. I think being a house DJ originally is what helped me become a better open format DJ, because in house DJing, it's like, you know, mixing in key and also programming the night and being aware of the crowd and all that stuff like that is like super crucial. I know a lot of really amazing hip hop DJ turntablist dudes who skills blow me out of the water, but like when it comes down to like rocking a crowd who wants to dance and party, like it's a challenge for them, you know, because it's more about the show of like what they're doing and like, whoa, how did you just do that shit? But I enjoy what I do, and I like to make it interesting and creative, and one of my favorite things to do is to like get people to dance to songs that they would never even listen to or consider.
Well, it must have worked out pretty well for you, this little open format switch, because you're actually the representative for NASCAR.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Man.
For those of you that don't know NASCAR, I don't know where you've been hiding, but
it's just a little thing in LA.
It's just a little thing. It's a huge deal. So for you to be affiliated with those guys, I mean, would you say that was your biggest break?
It's really interesting. I guess it is. Yeah, I guess it is my biggest break in terms of like playing for crowds that probably have like never heard a DJ before, you know, and it's like not some rock band or like some country show. So it's like definitely expanding me in directions that, I mean, playing music that I never thought that I would be playing, or in front of people that never want to hear me. And truthfully, like, there's some mixed reviews. Like, the whole purpose of me playing for NASCAR is to sort of market it to the younger crowd and keep it fresh and all that stuff like that, you know. But you've got some of the older generation that hates me.
The resistance.
Yeah, I got some hate tweets.
Yeah?
Heat tweets. I think they said, like, this sucks. What is this noise?
Oh, really? And is that,
Yeah.
are you at DJ Michaelis on Twitter?
Yeah, it's really funny.
Tweet
But then-
him now and give him loads of shit.
Yeah, right? And then, like, I got the younger kids being like, oh, man, that's cool. I can't believe these old people are listening to this shit. Like, it's really funny. So I get, like, the balance of Twitter responses.
Do you have to play a different set at NASCAR than you do, you know, on a Friday night in a club in Bali?
Absolutely. First of all, everything's clean edited because it's a family affair.
Sure.
But second of all, it's like, it is a little bit more rock heavy, and a lot of it's like a mashup of, you know, newer beats mixed with rock. And
Was that a learning curve for you to figure that out, or was it kind of...
the rock stuff wasn't, but country was
Oh, wow.
a whole other ball game, you know, and trying to figure out. Thank God for Ableton, and thank God for Mixed and Key for
Shout out.
shout out to those programs that really like allow me to easily make mashups and do stuff like that so that I can play them live. So yeah, but the NASCAR thing really just fell in my lap so randomly, and what was happening was, and I believe in this whole sort of like manifest destiny, if you believe that it's going to come, whatever kind of thing. And so I was like on Facebook one day, and I was reading a Forbes magazine article that popped up about DJ Irie. Shout out DJ Irie, who plays for the Miami Heat. Incidentally, he also plays for NASCAR too. And I was reading this article, and I was just wondering, how does a DJ get involved with a sports team? Like, that's so bizarre to me. Like, how did that happen? And literally 3 hours later, my manager called me, and she's like, NASCAR wants to make you their official DJ. And I was just like, cool, let's do this. So it started with Iowa Speedway was the first track that I ever did, and I was introduced to a whole new brand of people, lots of mullets and beer and shirtlessness and amazingness, but all like super kind, super excited. You know, they were just stoked to be there, and I was stoked to be there and be like a part of that whole scene, and it was rad. The energy's really cool. I'd never been to a NASCAR race. I never watched NASCAR on TV, but the energy at the race when you're in the middle of the pit and like the cars going around you and it's so loud, and Iowa Speedway is the shortest track in all of America, so it's like really quick. And it was just dizzying. It was amazing, and you know, it was just a interesting experience. I became really good friends with this guy, Trent Staley, who's, you know, the marketing dude for or the vice president of marketing for, I hope I'm getting that right, Trent. If I'm messing your title up, it's going to be a real bummer. Maybe he's, I don't know what. He's awesome.
Yeah, just leave it at that.
Trent just runs shit, all right? No, Trent, Jimmy Smalls, and all these guys, and I became good friends with them, and he's just really helped me along with my manager, Heather Elsky. Cut out Heather Wolskick and just make it Heather Elsky, because she'll kill me. She's really married to an amazing man, Greg Elsky. I dropped your name. What's up? Shout out to Kids for Autism. Anyway, so yeah, it's just been a really cool experience, and so it went from that track to Phoenix to Chicago, and you know, now they're talking about Talladega, and you know, we'll just keep adding tracks to the list. And I did IndyCar too, and I'm going to do the Truck Series this year, and you know, I'm just excited about the whole thing, and everyone in NASCAR has been amazing, everyone on their staff, and here I am, this dude who couldn't stay out of jail, who was a complete drug addict mess, who never had a job, and I'm like having real conversations with these corporate men in like suits with like nice haircuts and like, and it's rad. They're good people. It's cool.
Yeah.
So that's, you mentioned a couple of things that you got going on this summer. Have you got anything else to talk about, as in gigs this summer?
Well, I'm doing the bounce parties in Bali, which is awesome. I've got some residencies at Genja, Cocoon, Double Six. Starting one at Track 9, Mint. Am I forgetting anything? I don't think I am. And then I'm doing a show with Clive Farrington that's right now in Clickstarter campaign. Clive Farrington's the lead singer for When in Rome, so famous for that song, The Promise, 80s jam. Basically, what he wants to do is, how are we doing? We're doing good? He wants to create or bring music back to music television, because like you watch MTV today and it's like fucking reality shows and whatever. I don't even know what it is anymore. So he wants to take one thing that a lot of people love, which are, you know, the 80s, all that sort of like new wave 80s club music, and he wants to basically make EDM remixes of it, live, show that whole process, and also like the process of it getting played in the club, and kind of mixing sort of American bandstand with the new EDM pop culture. All right,
Then. So what if you had to pick one in all your years of doing shit? What would be your favorite gig? Could you pick one?
Man, there's so many amazing gigs. I mean, the club that really sort of broke my career and elevated me to a new level as a DJ was a place that doesn't exist in LA anymore. It's called Supper Club, and amazing sound system, line arrays, aerialist coming down, dropping bottles from the ceilings, $10,000 bottle service beds. Always a show. It was awesome, best lighting, and you know, I remember playing there one night, and Blackstreet, famous for No Diggity, were like in the club, and they came up to the booth and they like acapella rocked No Diggity with me, like as I was playing the song, dropping it out, and they were singing, and I mean, that was just like a great moment. Another one was like playing with Mixmaster Mike. That guy is a hero to me. He's my all-time favorite scratch artist ever, turntablist. And getting to play with him and shaking his hand and just hanging out, those were epic moments for me, for sure.
Okay, so from the highs to the lows, then have you had any complete nightmare moments where your equipment's failed, or you've had you've been booked to play for 10,000 people and you've got there and there's 20 people just sitting down at the bar, no one gives a fuck?
I mean, look,
we've all had those gigs.
I think every DJ has those moments of playing for empty bars and empty clubs, and So yeah, I mean, I've had that stuff, but like it's pretty far few between, and even with equipment failure, like I don't give a shit. Like we just keep going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It happened the other night. I was playing a Genja, and Mike, I'm gonna talk shit about you right now, Newmark, but their NS72 was doing some weird stuff. And it was like starting the song over like mid-mix, and you know, it was just it was a real bummer, but I just scratch-dropped the chorus of the song, and it was cool, and everyone was stoked, and just like learn to improvise on
Just
the
made it
fly.
work.
Yeah, totally.
You got to do it. I mean, so as I say, it's like you're saying with the Newmark thing. This shit happens. I'm sure Newmark will tweet you back and apologise for
They've
it.
actually responded to my inquiry about it, which is really cool. That's a nice thing about like the support Newmark and Serato. Is like they always get back to you. It's really nice. But I had a really similar experience to you, and it's kind of why I become a one turntable DJ. It's because I was touring in Russia for a couple years, going back and forth every other month and a half or whatever. I was doing like this electro mashup thing over there. And I was a turntable DJ at the time. You know, every time I got to a club, like everyone on there is on CDJs, you know? So they would like bring out the turntables and literally like blow dust off of them. And there was always one turntable that didn't work, right? So I had to basically learn how to play on internal mode on one side and like do all my mixing with my right hand. And now it's at that point, because I spent so much time doing that like my left hand is weak, dude.
Yeah.
Like I'm having to like relearn how to DJ and scratch with my left hand, which sucks because my right hand is great on the fader because it's strong, you know, but my left hand is just like a bummer. So, you know, I guess until I feel comfortable with that, I'm still doing this right hand thing, which I guess defeats the purpose of growth. But yeah, I mean,
nobody notices. It all sounds good, man.
that's cool.
Well, what we've got is you're obviously the Cocoon resident on a Saturday. We've got Groove each and every Saturday down at Cocoon. So if you are in Bali and you're particularly interested in coming down and hearing Michaelis play, if you haven't already, then by all means come down to Cocoon. He's on at 3:00. Just get down there and see what all the fuss is about. Bounce again. Oh, we got May the 1st.
May the 1st,
May the 1st, we got DJ Michaelis in the house birthday on May the 1st. So and that's the same day as the first bounce of this year. So you've got to make it down to that, and you've got to give him a high five and bring some cake and all that stuff. Just don't bring any meth, and you'll be good to go.
Yeah, I might steal your girlfriend and your motorbike and your fucking ATM card.
Yeah, and you might get buried in Seminyak Beach.
Yeah, totally. Actually, I've got a lot of properties. I can bury you in my backyard. You know.
Oh, I'm sitting in his property right now, and his garden's bigger than my house. Like literally is bigger than the whole of my place. Looks great.
Yeah.
Okay, well we're gonna wrap this up, man, because I got to actually go down to work and do some DJing myself today.
What's that about?
I know. It's Friday, isn't it? We're not supposed to do this. But yeah, is there any way that the good listeners of this podcast can get in touch with you? Do you have a Twitter, an Instagram, a Facebook?
Totally.
Do you know the details?
My Twitter is at DJ Michaelis, DJ Michaelis. I have a SoundCloud that has my original production on it. It's not for mixes at all, and that's The Michaelis, so soundcloud.com/the Michaelis. And then you can hear DJ mixes at djmichaelis.podomatic.com, and Facebook. Forget Facebook, but it's there.
Just type in DJ Michaelis in Facebook,
Yeah,
you'll
figure
find
me
it.
out eventually.
Yeah, you'll see the big beard, and then you'll know it's him.
Oh man, that guy.
But please get in touch with the guys. So cool. Hope you've enjoyed the last hour or so. I know I have. I've learned a lot. And head down to Cocoon on a Saturday. Come and say hello to him. Tell him that you heard him on the podcast. And you know he's a cool guy. I'm sure his burying in the backyard days are over. So if they're not, I'm in for the surprise in the next 5 minutes.
If you shove your phone with a song request in my face while I'm playing, I promise you I will take it, and I will just leave it next to me for as long as I possibly can. That will happen.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, out of here. Thank you so much for doing this, man.
Gracias.
It's been superb. Later.
That's right.